Joyful Miles channel that is all about inspiring others to enjoy life 1 mile at a time. Tonight it is just Rob and me. Megan is away on business and Jackie is working, but that's okay. The two of us are going to talk about Run Disney in the Rain, especially since Princess Half Marathon is weeks away. And anyone who did Marathon Weekend or heard about it knows that the weather can be so unpredictable. It's going to be gorgeous for Princess, don't worry. But just in case, we're going to go over some good tips.
So let's get to running in the rain, and specifically running in the rain at Run Disney. I think you want to be better prepared for these things, Laura, having to travel. Most people, not having the luxury of being locals, have to travel and stay in hotels and have to pack things. So how do you prepare for running in the rain at Run Disney? And we have some experience doing that. So what would you start with, Laura?
Well, I, first of all, am the biggest overpacker you will ever meet. Thank God I fly Southwest and they allow 2 suitcases because I don't care what the weather forecast is saying. They could be predicting 80 degrees every single day. I am still going to prepare for everything because the weather in Florida, it can turn on a dot. So some of my best gear to bring for a Run Disney race in the rain is a visor. That's number one. When I did Splash and Dash, the Wine and Dine 2014, is that the correct year? Yeah, 2014. It poured the whole time, and if I did not have a visor to keep the rain out of my face, I think I would have gone insane. Disposable ponchos that you can buy very cheap at Walmart or Target or other stores are also a very good investment. Oh, here's a weird tip. I'm just going to mention this now in case I forget it. But at the one race, I saw a girl, because they flop when you try to run with them, and they're also too hot. But anyway, if you want to run with it, she put the visor over the hood to anchor it down, and then she put her running belt over the waist of it to keep it from flopping around. It was a really good idea. So what else?
And if you don't, well, I will say, if you don't want to, if you forget the poncho, you don't want to carry a poncho, at Run Disney events, you typically have a lot of trash cans lying about that have multiple trash bags underneath. So if you just remove the top layer, because this happened to us at Wine and Dine, when we were getting, but right before we got evacuated, where there was that threat, it seemed like it was going to start to rain because the winds had picked up.
Yes.
A couple of us had started pulling trash bags out of the trash cans and started making like ponchos out of those. So, you know, a little MacGyver action if you're caught in a pickle.
It's quite
That's one way
amusing
to kind of do it.
to see all the things that people come up with.
Yeah,
Megan actually mentioned this. I always bring a trash bag, but she mentioned bringing a contractor trash bag because they are a lot
they're
thicker, a
bigger.
lot heavier, and bigger. So that was a good tip from Megan. Thank you. See, she's not even here. She's already helping us out. You also want to protect your phone and any other electronics that you are bringing. You can get some really nice waterproof cases for your phone off of Amazon. I'm going to link my favorite below. In a pinch, though, a good old plastic baggie will work just fine. I did find that when I did that for Wine and Dine, moisture still got in, so I carried some extra baggies in my running belt, and I changed them out like mid-race.
Another tip I would say is you're going to want to really utilize your bag check for these races because I don't typically use them very much, if ever. But if it's going to rain, especially, you want to have a change of clothes that you can change out of that's going to be dry and comfortable. A change of shoes or flip-flops, something that you can get out of those because your feet are going to be wet. But also use it to kind of store things in last second. So if you wanted to carry an umbrella with you, get a small umbrella that could fit into the gear bag right before you go into the race. Having an umbrella is also pretty useful for like the expo because there's not a lot of cover. If it's pouring rain, I can tell you from experience, my wife and I had to buy one of those giant golf umbrellas. We got the last one and almost had to fight somebody for it, and it's like $50
But you
or whatever.
won, right?
Yeah, we won. It's a great umbrella. We still have it. We use it all the time, but you know, it's one of those things you're not going to really think of until it happens. So you want to be prepared for it. So now every time we go, regardless if we know if it's going to rain or not, we carry the umbrella with us. We pack it with us just to have. And also, your shoes are going to get wet. So if I'm running more than one race, I'll always pack an extra pair of shoes. I try to have at least 2 or 3 pairs with me, depending upon how many races I'm doing. But also, newspaper. You want to put newspaper in your shoes if they get soaking wet, and try to find newspaper at the resorts. You can't.
Mm-mm.
I don't
Forget
think they
it.
make newspapers
Not with
anymore.
all the other runners. It's not going to
No,
happen.
You don't get the USA Today's anymore, and you're going to be hard pressed to try to find newspapers. So try to pack a few sheets of, if you can't get newspaper, just like the gift wrap type paper, tissue paper that you can get
Mhm.
at the craft stores and stuff. So, because you don't want your feet to be wet.
Mm-mm.
That's how blisters happen, and that's going to make life very uncomfortable.
Nope. And speaking of shoes, while we're on the topic of shoes, there are people who will put duct tape on their shoes. I have
Mm.
to say that I'm not a big fan of that because, first of all, I don't want my shoes to get messed up with adhesive gunk, but also you're going to lose some of your breathability with that. And how long is it going to last, really? And I've also seen people tie like the grocery store bags onto their feet to try to keep them somewhat dry until the race actually begins. But definitely you want to watch your step with that because it will make it slippery. And speaking of step, you also want to make sure that you have shoes that have good tread. That's my dog squeaking her squeaker. I was trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
You want to have shoes that have good tread. You don't want to go with some that are worn down, which, if they're that worn down, it's probably time to re to get a new pair anyway. But still, keep that in mind.
And getting to the races, a lot of people they rely on the buses to get to and from the races, but some people drive. And something I found out at one of the races locally from driving to where I got soaked on, you're gonna want a towel after to be able to put down on the seats, so you're not just sitting in you're soaking wet seat. So you want to just kind of be thinking of that too. Um, so pack a couple of towels, grab a couple of towels out of your hotel room, and bring those with you too.
I do have a short, funny story about that. After the Wine and Dine 2014, this was back when it was a night race, and they had this humongous changing tent. Everyone was soaked because it poured the entire time. And I actually did bring a hand towel, and I was able to dry off in the changing tent. And this woman beside me was like looking at me like with such envy. She's like, "Oh God, I'd do anything for a towel." And I'm like, "Look, I didn't put this on my private, so if you would like the towel, go ahead." And she gave me this look, and she's like, "You know what? Under normal circumstances, I would think that is the grossest thing in the world, but give me the towel." So she used my towel. Nice little bonding moment. And that also reminds me, too, if you are packing a change of clothes in your gear bag or dry hats or a jacket or something, and it's raining, you might want to put that in a plastic gallon size bag. Uh, just in case, you never know, you drop your bag, it rips or something, and it goes into a puddle. It's happened before. Those little drawstring gear bags are not the most reliable thing in the world.
No, they
So
rip very easily. They
no.
not very good. And when you have inclement weather, you want to adjust your expectations because you're probably not going to go out and have the best race of your life. Now, I've had the opposite. I've gone out and PR'd in the pouring rain just because you want to get it over with. Um, but you have to kind of keep safety in mind too. That ground's going to be slick. You're on the highways for a lot of these races, so you got to deal with things like reflectors in the road and banks in the
Mm-hmm.
road, potholes. You got to be careful of these things. So the rain can kind of cover that up sometimes with like puddles and things. From other races that we've run, I mean, I knew going into Broad Street that it was going to be a bad race for a number of reasons, but just the weather was just so brutally bad. But you still try to have some fun, and at the end of the day, you're still at Disney World. So
Mm-hmm.
um, hopefully, you'll still see some characters. I know the characters can sometimes be affected by the rain, so that can be a bummer sometimes. But um, I will say, Run Disney still makes every effort to give the entertainment value when the weather's bad. So
Another thing that I want to bring up is to be careful to hydrate. With all the rain and the water coming down, you don't think about hydrating, but you are still running, you're still sweating, it's just being washed away. So make
mm.
sure that you continue to hydrate as normal.
And you want to dress in layers. Every You want to kind of dress in layers regardless, especially when the weather's colder. But with the rain, you want to make sure you're not wearing like cotton layers because you're going to get miserable.
Yeah.
So you want moisture wicking material. Um, and that's pretty much all I have when I bring to the races. So, and again, if you don't want to throw the stuff away, you could stow it in your gear bag again right before the race. But try to go to your local Salvation Army, pick up a couple of cheap outer sweatshirts or something so you can kind of have before the race, just to kind of keep you comfortable.
Mm. We actually picked up some really super cheap Walmart water resistant
Yeah.
jackets for like $10 with the intention to toss them, and we all kept them because they end up being nicer than we imagined. And underneath all that clothing, you still want to protect thyself from chafing. You definitely want to hit up the high friction areas with a generous dose of Body Glide. I'm talking underneath your sports bra. Your toes also, it's good to put a coat of Vaseline on it. That's what I do to try to keep away blisters. Some people do their whole feet. I just do my toes. But you want to put some Body Glide on your heels, any other type of friction spot on the top of your foot, whether your shoe tongue hits your heel. I'm doing a bad job explaining that, but you get my point. Wherever your clothes are rubbing, thighs, boobs, everywhere, put some Body Glide on it.
In terms of protecting your bibs, you want to be careful because you don't want to cover up your bib with your those mylar cover-ups because they can affect your timing chip. But also, if you get your bib covered up while you're running with the poncho, you're going to miss out on all those great photo opportunities from the photo pass photographers. So you want to try to have your bib visible. What I did for a race locally had nothing to do with Disney, but when I had to wear a rain jacket over, I put my bib on my leg, so like on my shorts,
Right.
so it was still visible, but I was still covered up. So I think yeah, you want to kind of think like that too. Like, where's my bib going to go? So you can be seen at all times.
Hmm. Did you put it on like the front of your leg? Because I know
Front.
a friend put it on the side and she missed out on a lot of pictures
No, on the
because
front.
they
On
would
the
be
front.
okay, right, good.
Yeah, like right
On
on
the
the thigh.
front, definitely. And also now, since we're still on ponchos, maybe don't throw it away too
Mm.
soon. I made that mistake during wine and dine. I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling sweaty. I didn't want to be burdened with it any longer, so I trashed it while going through Animal Kingdom. And then by mile 7, the wind picked up, and I was freezing cold, and I would have done anything for that poncho back. So it would have been so much easier just to roll it up and tuck it in my running belt. But nope, I had to ditch it. So think twice.
I've done the same thing. Did it at Broad Street. Ditched the poncho right at the start, and I hated it. I wish I had it back like almost immediately. So
You
um,
want to run back and get it.
yeah, that was a tough one. Um,
Yeah, and I have been one too. I've picked up twice. I've picked up throwaways on the course during like the Walt Disney World weekend because I ditched too soon and then I needed something. I was too cold and I did pick up off the ground. Someone else had discarded it because when you're cold, you'll do anything.
yeah,
But
how's that for a tip?
yeah, yeah.
Pick up the trash on the
Hey,
road.
hey,
Whatever you got to do.
usually I'm like a little Miss Germaphobe, but when it comes to that and high five and little kids, I don't worry about that all during Run Disney races. Another tip too is I packed a one of those heavy duty ponchos. It was like a green one in my gear bag, and afterwards, after the race, when it had already stopped raining, it made a really great changing room because I was able to put it on
Mm.
and then change my clothes underneath of it. And yeah, it's
That's a
kind
good point because you want to
of
get your clothes off right away, and
yes,
you know,
yes.
not that I'm very bashful, but
You will
uh,
get chills.
yeah.
Women, we know what that does to our body. It wrecks some havoc, down there. So you definitely want to get out of those cold, damp clothes.
How do you girls function?
It's our cross to bear, Rob.
I know.
Okay, so that is going to wrap it up for us today. But first, Rob has some comments from our awesome subscribers that we're so thankful for from the YouTube channel.
That's right, Laura. We want to give some shout outs to some people who took the time to leave us some comments and ask some questions. And speaking of the Princess Half Marathon, we have Smile XOXO27, who is running the Glass Slipper Challenge this year. And she said that watching our vlogs are making her so excited. So thank you for that.
I love hearing
Really
that.
appreciate that. And good luck to you running your Glass Slipper Challenge. And today, Laura, was also the early registration for AP and DVC owners for the marathon weekend. Hard to believe.
Very
uh,
hard to believe.
but we have a couple people who are running Dopey next year and are already training. We have Carol Bass, who has been binge watching all of our videos, getting excited. Um, really wants to do Dopey, just going to do the full marathon, but doesn't know if she'll ever get the chance to do dopey. So she's up to 10 miles on her long run, 18 miles per week, getting a little soreness in the knee. Only 24, but doing sports her whole life, which has not been kind to her joints. Do you think signing up for dopey will be too big of a risk? What do you think?
Well, you're talking to the woman who is injured right now, who just
Who's
spent,
going to be walking Princess in a couple of
I
weeks?
know. So maybe my opinion is a little skewed. I mean, there's a risk for anybody. I mean, you could be perfectly healthy today and something could happen. There's always a risk, and we know that going in now that there's no deferral program, there's no insurance, there's no refunds. So you just have to follow your gut. If it's a little bit of fear that's holding you back, go ahead and go for it. But if your gut is telling you that it's not a smart move, maybe listen to that gut and most definitely see your doctor and see what your doctor says.
I think it's easy to get excited for these challenges, and we know a bunch of people who are toying around with the idea of doing dopey, never having run a full marathon, let alone 4 races back to back like that. You got to be realistic with yourself, and if you're going to do it, you got to be committed to training.
Hmm.
You cannot get through a full marathon with little to no training, let alone the four race challenge. So if you can commit yourself to the training, and honestly, 10 miles on a long run is a pretty good base point to have, I would think. Because as long as you can get past that half marathon distance, you usually should be pretty good for a full. But obviously, listen to your body too. I think it's easy to try to push through pain, but I would get it checked out. See what a doctor has to say. Don't take
Yeah.
our opinion because we don't know what we're talking about. So, but by all means, as long as the pain is not an issue and nothing major injury, go for it.
Because it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have Shannon Slocum, who says that she loves our channel. And her question is about qualifying races. She is in training for Dopia next year as well, and she's currently maintaining a 10:30 mile, which is very, very good. And she knows that proof of time is required for half and full marathons, but if she's not able to complete a qualifying race, can she still run one? Can she still run Dopia in 2018?
Absolutely. It's not a requirement, but chances are you will be put in the last corral.
A 10.5 minute pace now. If you're going to be serious about training, you're probably going to get quicker. You're going to want a qualifying time. You're not going to want to be in the back, just from the sheer fact that um, you want to be able to take advantage of a higher corral for shorter lines and pictures, not having to wait as long in those corrals, especially for marathon. There's a lot of corrals to sit through to try to get through these races. So squeeze in a 10 miler, try to get a half marathon in. Has to be a 10 mile, a half, or a full for qualifying times for marathon. So you have until October
October 3rd.
8ish, October 3rd.
October 3rd.
October 3rd. So plenty of time to try to squeeze in one race. Well, I think that's everything we have to offer. I want to know if anything we missed. What do you guys do for running in the rain? Anything that we forgot? Let us know. Be sure to connect with us. We always like to read the comments that we get and answer any questions that we get. We're going to be looking to do a question show, I think, coming up. So if any questions, please send them our way. We'd love to do a show based on just answering your questions. So probably be doing that very, very soon in the near future. So be sure to look at our Twitter and our Facebook pages for announcements on that. And also, if you're running Princess, we want to hear about it. Like, what was your experience like? So Laura's going to be there, so be sure to say hello to her.
If you see a gimpy Gaston limping during the half marathon, please, please, please stop and say hello.
Laura loves it, so please. Um, so be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss any of our vlogs. And also joyfulmiles.com for all of our wonderful blogs and tips. Laura's been posting a bunch of great stuff there just over the past few days alone. So, and there'll be much more to come. So, but that'll do it for us this week. So for Laura, Jackie, and Megan, who aren't here this week, and myself, I want to thank you for listening as always. Have a joyful day, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.